program, he left out his middle-class tax cut. Wouldn't you say, just as a political strategist, that on that issue, Bill Clinton has won over George Bush?
Well, if Bill Clinton could ever get a discussion of economics, perhaps he could try to make that case. I don't think he's going to be able to. The good news for George Bush here is Clinton was able to hold on. He goes into the South viable. He actually has a chance to be nominated, and he is fatally flawed and extremely vulnerable to us in the fall.
Tell me why he's fatally flawed.
I think we just touched on it here.
I want to hear it from you.
It's character. People don't know that you can believe anything this guy says about his marriage, about the draft.
What are you saying? What do you mean when you say that people can't believe anything he says about his marriage?
I think it is absolutely clear that there is a perception created by the media that there are serious questions about this guy's credibility.
Do you think that's a legitimate issue?
Yes, I do. I think the character of the person who would be president of the United States is very much a legitimate issue. Do you think this issue of marital fidelity, which you keep blaming on the media, is a legitimate issue? I think that there's something the voters are going to want to know about, yes.
All right. Roger, you told our staff today, Roger, that Republicans won't need to bring this issue up, that the Democrats will accuse the Republicans of bringing it up, and that's ridiculous. You are bringing it up, and you know darn well you are.
No, we're here to comment on the process. The process, it has been brought up. The tabloids have brought it up. Clinton could never prove his case.
Do you favor him bringing it up?
It doesn't matter whether I favor it or not. The point is, it is going to be brought up. It's being planted, I suspect, not by us, but by Democrats.
Oh.
And the truth of the matter is, when Clinton said, this is the Republican attack machine, this is Roger Ailes, and so on, he couldn't deliver the beef.
There you are doing it. Roger, you're doing this very thing.
Okay, we're going to have to take a break, and we're going to come back. We're going to try to find out whether the Democratic Party is ready for a candidate that doesn't bash business. Welcome back to Crossfire. New Hampshire is over, and guess who's left in the Democratic presidential ballgame? The insiders think it's a two-man race between Arkansas Governor Bill Clinton and former Senator Paul Tsongas of Massachusetts. We're checking that out with two Washington insiders in the Crossfire. Roger Stone is a former national head of the Young Republicans who helped run presidential campaigns of Richard Nixon, Ronald Reagan, and Jack Kemp, and now is a Washington consultant. Mark Mellman is a former member of the Yale faculty who heads a Washington political consulting firm which specializes in electing liberal Democrats and most recently helped defeat David Duke in Louisiana. Mr. Mellman, I want to look for a moment at the new front-runner of your party, Paul Tsongas, the winner in New Hampshire. He said in New Hampshire, no more corporate bashing, no more giveaways, no more anti-growth. You buy that as a Democrat?
Well, I think the Democratic Party has always been for growth. It's always been for creating opportunity. There are certainly differences in the particular policy elements, particular mix that people use. The fact is right now these Democrats have to exaggerate their differences with each other in order to win a primary. As all of them said the other night at the debate, there's a lot more that unites them than divides them.
Okay, that's the propaganda question. I'd really like a frank answer from you if it could. He is on record for nuclear power. He is for a cut in the capital gains tax. He is against the anti-scab bill by the AFL-CIO. Is that somebody who is acceptable to you as a Democrat?
Sure, he's acceptable to me. He's for a lot of things that are very important to the American public. In fact, there are a lot of Democrats who support all the proposals that you just talked about.
Is that something that the special interest groups in your party, the organized labor particularly, will they permit somebody like that to be nominated?
Well, I think the word coming out of the AFL-CIO convention was Paul Tsongas is better than George Bush, and they're right about that.
Well, that wasn't my question. That was a question. Are they going to permit him to be nominated? I know they think he's better than George Bush.
We don't allow anybody to control the process here except the voters. If the voters give Paul Tsongas the nomination, he's going to have it, and people are going to accept it.
Roger Stone, the Wall Street Journal practically endorsed Paul Tsongas today. They think he's great because he's for a capital gains tax cut. Novak thinks he's great because of the capital gains tax cut. If the business community wishes to convince himself that he supports their policies, and if Democrats convince themselves that he supports their policies, liberal Democrats, that makes him pretty electable, doesn't it?
It doesn't matter. He's not going to be the nominee of the Democratic Party. I don't think his candidacy is going to travel well. I think he's very ineffective on TV. There's a great disparity between what he's saying now and the way he voted in the United States Senate, where, as you know, he's one of the most liberal members of the Senate in his one term there. I don't think that's a candidacy that travels, frankly.
Did you actually tell our staff today that the trouble with Tsongas is he's limp-wristed, effeminate, and purses his lips?
The worst TV performance I've ever seen. He makes George Bush look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. He is weak on television.
You think that's a really important thing in deciding who's the president of the United States?
We live in the television age, and voters get impressions about the people they vote for office from public television, and yes, I think he comes across very weak on TV.
Mr. Melman, Senator Dole, the Republican leader of the Senate, has offered a free ticket. Have you seen that, Roger?
Did.
He's offered a free ticket to Washington for Senator Tsongas to tell Democrats that they shouldn't be anti-growth, anti-business, and anti-class warfare. They should be anti-class warfare. What do you? I'm sorry, I got it wrong way there. What do you think of that, Mr. Melman? Would you think that'd be a good thing if you could get Senator Tsongas to lecture some of these demagogues in the Democratic cloakrooms on Capitol Hill?
I think if we can get Senator Dole to vote for Tsongas for president, we're going to be in great shape.
Well, no, I asked you a question. Don't you think he has something to teach the people in your party that bashing business isn't very smart?
Look, people in our party have a lot to learn from each other. They learn from each other quite a bit. Nobody's out there bashing business for the sake of bashing business. That's an affectation. That's something that
Do
you
I
guys have
understand you right
invented.
to say that if Paul Tsongas could get the Democratic nomination, you would find him a very attractive candidate because he's so pro-business?
I said nothing. I understand the fact that he's now posing as a moderate, but I don't think, in essence, you can slip away from that record in the United States.
I want to ask you something, Mr. Melman, that on this network, John White, a former national chairman of your party, said. I almost came out of my socks when I heard him say it. He said that as this process gets closer to the nomination, people are going to be asking whether or not Senator Tsongas has really recovered from cancer and whether that's a problem, whether you can elect a man with a record of cancer record. Do you think that becomes an issue if he becomes a possible nominee?
I don't really think so. I think, look, he beat cancer. Maybe he can beat Bush. In fact, there's a lot of people today, unlike the situation 5 or 10 years ago, a lot of people today know folks who have recovered from cancer, gone on to lead long and productive lives. I think it's not a very serious issue anymore.
Now,
10 years ago would have been.
One of Mr. Kinsley's colleagues on the New Republic, Rick Hertzberg, wrote that all the media wants Bill Clinton to be elected president. In fact, all his reporters, and in fact, reporters do adore Bill Clinton. Why is it that the liberal reporters and the liberal media, Mr. Melman, so much prefer Clinton to Paul Tsongas? Is it perhaps that the Tsongas has a pro-business message which is antagonistic to them?
I can't speak for media, liberal or conservative. The fact is we're going to see in the next couple of weeks just how appealing these two messages are to real live primary voters.
What's more appealing to you, Mr.
Melman? Sorry?
What's more appealing to you
As
a consultant?
Look, both of them are more appealing to me than George Bush by a long shot.
Which of the two has a better shot against George Bush, in your opinion?
The God-honest answer is whoever wins the primaries. We're going to see their strengths and weaknesses in the next couple of weeks, and the guy who wins is the guy who's going to be stronger against George Bush.
Truth of the matter is the Democratic primary process is not going to nominate a moderate. Fritz Hollings can tell you that, John Glenn can tell you that, and Paul Tsongas is about to find out.
They were all great candidates, right?
No, who do you think's the strongest of the two against Bush?
Clinton.
Do you think he's stronger than Tsongas?
Sure, absolutely.
So ideas don't count.
No, I think ideas count, but he's not going to get nominated in their process. It's not possible.
Then you're making a totally contradictory point just there. Why don't we take a break right now? Because when we come back, I want to talk to Roger Stone on this question of special interest in the Democratic Party. Roger Stone, it's been said election after election that the Democrats can never get anybody electable nominated because they're beholden to special interest groups. They have these litmus tests. But in this election, you got the two leading candidates. Clinton is frankly pro-death penalty. Tsongas is frankly pro-nuclear power, two of those so-called special interest litmus tests. The Democrats have changed. On the other hand, the Republicans are stuck with the ultimate special interest litmus test, pro-life on abortion. Don't the Republicans have a worse problem with special interest now than the Democrats?
No, I don't think so. I think, first of all, we're going to see how the Tsongas supposedly more moderate message does in the primaries. His success in New Hampshire is really based on residual name ID from his time as a senator and the collapse of Clinton. He was fixing to get beat until Clinton collapsed.
How about just trying to answer my question? Isn't the Republican platform being stuck with an extreme anti-choice position going to hurt your party in November?
I think it depends on what the Supreme Court does on Roe v. Wade. I also depends.
You're hoping that they don't overturn it.
I think it also.
You're hoping they don't overturn it, even though it's in your party's platform that they
I
want
personally
it to.
view that would be a problem if they overturned it.
Just for truth in labeling, Roger, you should say you're pro-choice.
I am pro-choice.
Okay, just to say it that
And
way.
I should make the case that I think we need to see what the platform says in the final analysis.
All right,
before you
Mr.
judge how
Melman,
damaging it is.
Mark Melman, I would really like you to give me an answer. Please give me your honest, genuine answer. Are these two fellas, Paul Tsongas and Bill Clinton, really the best your party can produce to run against George Bush?
I think they're both great candidates. The best ought not to become the enemy of the good. The fact is they're both strong candidates. There have been a lot of strong people in the race this year. The fact is on the Republican side, the coalition between the country club and the pickup truck is falling apart. That's what we're seeing.
I just want to follow. Wait a minute, Mark. Wait a minute, Mike. I want to follow that up. And you, even though you won't answer that question, I would like you to tell me: is there any possibility of somebody else getting in the race at this late date, like Benson, Dick Gephardt, Mario Cuomo, somebody?
Still possible, very unlikely. Let me just go back to the special interest point for a second, because you guys, I think, are all missing the point that the American people see. We ask people in polls, when you talk about special interest, who are you talking about? They're not talking about labor. They're not talking about the NRA. They're talking about big business and the wealthy. That's who they think the special interests are, and that's who they think George Bush represents.
Last question to Roger Stone. It's the same question that Bob asked Mark. Is George Bush truly, can you honestly say, look into that camera and say honestly that in Roger Stone's heart, George Bush is the best candidate your party can produce to run against Clinton or Tsongas?
Absolutely. I think he is the best candidate. I think he'll win. The best thing that happened to George Bush in New Hampshire is the fact that Clinton survived.
Better than Jack Kemp, who you used to work for against George Bush.
George Bush, the President of the United States, and right now he's the strongest candidate our party can nominate. There's no question about that.
All right.
And the good news for Bush is you don't get Cuomo, you don't get Bradley, you don't get Benson, you don't get Gephardt, you get Clinton.
All right, enough.
George
We're out of
Bush
time. Thanks, Roger Stone. Thank you, Mark Melman, out there in Los Angeles. Novak and I will settle this in a moment.
I feel constrained to say something that I think comes from somebody who isn't trying to promote any interest.
Who's that, you?
That's me. And that is this, that the Democrats are stuck with one candidate who is Bill Clinton, who is so terribly flawed. I can't imagine a rational party nominating him. And another candidate, Paul Tsongas, who doesn't represent what his party stands for, against an incumbent president who looks goofy on the campaign circuit and is falling like a rock. Anything can happen.
That was your disinterested analysis,
Yes.
was it, Bob? Mm-hmm. Let me ask you something. In your heart, I suspect that if it was Tsongas versus Bush, you would vote for Tsongas.
Well, I'd have to take a long look at it. But I think that Roger Stone has it right. I think that this party is so against the things that Paul Tsongas stands for and the special interest in the party, I don't think they'll ever be nominated.
They're both excellent candidates, and as I said on election night, that's two more excellent candidates than the Republicans have. For the left, I'm Mike Kinsley. Good night for Crossfire.
You forgot your friend Buchanan. From the right, I'm Robert Novak. Join us again next time for another edition of Crossfire.